CFRB. CFRB 1010 AM is a commercial radio station in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It is owned by Bell Media and carries a news/talk radio format. Its studios and offices are in the Entertainment District at 250 Richmond Street West. CFRB is a clear channel station broadcasting at 50,000 watts, the maximum permitted in Canada. While it is a Class A station, it also must protect CBR Calgary, which shares Class A status on 1010 AM. CFRB uses a 4-tower array directional antenna in the Clarkson neighbourhood of Mississauga. CFRB is simulcast on shortwave station CFRX at 6.7 MHz in the 49-metre band and on 99.9 CKFM FM HD2, a digital subchannel. CFRB is also heard across Canada on Bell's satellite TV channel 964. History. Early years. Signing on in 1927, CFRB was not Toronto's very first radio station, but it is the city's oldest broadcaster still operating today. It has also retained its original call letters since 1927. CFRB was founded by the Rogers Vacuum Tube Company to promote Edward S. Rogers SR's invention of a batteryless radio receiver that could be operated using alternating current and therefore did not need the cumbersome battery that had previously been required. The station itself was a demonstration of Rogers' application of his invention to radio transmitters as well as receivers, a development that allowed for a signal that reproduced voices and music more clearly. The new type of transmitter also made CFRB the world's first all-electric radio station. The letters RB in the station's call sign stand for Rogers Batteryless. The station began transmitting on an experimental basis in January 1927 as 9RB, before being converted to commercial operation a few weeks later, on February 19, with the transmission of a live symphony orchestra concert conducted by Jack Arthur. During its first years, CFRB leased time to 2 phantom stations, CFRX, owned by Canadian National Railways and providing programs of Canada's first radio network, and CFRI, owned by the CNR rival, the Canadian Pacific Railway. The CNR network was discontinued in 1933, with many of its assets eventually passing to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation (CBC), and the CPR radio service was discontinued in 1935. CFRB's first studios were in a mansion on Jarvis Street, north of Wellesley Street, built by the family of Hart Massey. In 1929, the station moved to purpose-built studios at 37 Bloor Street West. In the same year, the station became a network affiliate of the Columbia Broadcasting System. In 1932, CFRB began airing the General Motors hockey broadcast, which had originated on the CNR network. This program eventually became Hockey Night in Canada and continued to be aired by CFRB for many years, despite also airing on the CBC flagship station CBL, and continues to this day on CBC television. From the 1930s to the 1950s, CFRB was the radio broadcaster for the Toronto Santa Claus Parade. In 1937, CFRB began to simulcast on shortwave station CFRX at 6070 kHz. Following the sudden death of Edward S. Rogers, SR, in 1939, Rogers Majestic Corporation Limited was sold in 1941 and became Standard Radio Limited. In turn, the company was acquired by Argus Corporation in 1946. On November 1, 1946, Wally Crowther joined CFRB. He eventually became its morning drive time host, a position he would hold until his retirement on November 1, 1996, after exactly 50 years at the station. Changing frequencies and studios. CFRB and CJBC, owned by the CBC, made a frequency switch on September 1, 1948. CFRB moved to 1010 while CJBC took over the Class I clear channel frequency at 860, previously used by CFRB. The CBC wanted its stations in major cities to be on Class I frequencies. But CFRB, which had been running at 20,000 watts, was boosted to 50,000 watts, giving it wide coverage over southern Ontario. In 1965, CFRB moved its studios from 37 Bloor Street West to 2 St. Clair Avenue West at Yonge Street. At around the same time, Standard Radio Limited was renamed Standard Broadcasting. A long-lasting show calling all Britons featuring news, sports, scores, and music from Britain began in 1965. It was hosted by Ray Sonnen until his death in 1991. New ownership. In 1978, Argus Corporation was acquired by Conrad Black and his brother Montagu, thus also giving them ownership of Standard Broadcasting. In November 1985. In October 2007, Slate sold Standard to Astral Media. Ted Rogers, the communications mogul and son of CFRB's founder, had vowed to reacquire the station that his family had lost after his father's death, and considered his failure to do so his greatest disappointment. Reports indicate that he continued to attempt to reacquire CFRB right up until his death in December 2008. In July 2013, with a buyout of Astral Media, CFRB was acquired by Bell Media, a subsidiary of Bell Canada which already owns the CTV television network. Shortly after the purchase, Bell announced that it would move the studios and offices of CFRB and sister station CKFM-FM from their longtime location at St. Clair Avenue and Yonge Street to 250 Richmond Street West at Richmond and Duncan, which already houses the operations of sister radio stations, Chum and Chum FM. The building is adjacent to 299 Queen Street West, located at Queen Street and John Street, which already houses the operations of several Bell Media specialty television channels, including CP24 and Much Music. The move took place on May 10, 2014. Transmitter. The transmitting antennas for CFRB are a prominent landmark along Lake Ontario, a 4-tower array in the Clarkson neighbourhood of Mississauga. The towers are visible from over 100 km away. They are used as a landmark for navigation by pilots on approach to Toronto Pearson International Airport or to Toronto Island Airport. The antenna array consists of 4 vertical masts, 168 meters, 550 feet in height. Shortwave radio station CFRX, which simulcasts CFRB, 7 MHz, and is operated on the north end of the same site beside the main building. CFRB was one of few stations to broadcast in AM stereo, starting in 1984. However, since AM stereo never achieved wide acceptance, the station deactivated its stereo broadcasting system in the mid-1990s. The transmitter is located on Royal Windsor Drive, 200 meters west of the intersection of Lakeshore Road West, former Kings Highway 2, and Southdown Road, at the coordinates 43, 505,748 deg and 79. 631,786 deg W/43, 505,748 79, 631,786. Programming. CFRB has local hosts most of the day, including Eben Solomon and Jamal Giovanni, who are syndicated to other Bell Media talk stations in Canada. CFRB airs The Late Showgram with Jim Richards overnights. The 11 p.m. newscast is simulcast from co-owned CFTODT Channel 9 CTV Toronto. CFRB's morning show has trailed CBC Radio 1's Metro Morning since 2003. In August 2009, CFRB announced it was laying off a number of its well-known personalities, including Michael Corin, Paul and Carol Mott, Christina Chernesky, Jackie Delaney, and newscaster Chris McCusker, as part of a move to open a new chapter at the station. The second phase of the shakeup was announced in the fall, with John Moore moving from afternoon drive to morning, replacing Bill Carroll, who moved to the 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. slot. Jim Richards took over the 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. slot formerly held by the Motts, and Michael Corin and former Ontario Progressive Conservative leader John Tory, later Mayor of Toronto, took over the late afternoon slot vacated by Moore. In 2010, Carroll left CFRB to take a job in Los Angeles and was replaced by Jerry Agar. In early 2013, the station added Astral's new late-night Humble and Fred show. Josh Matlow started on CFRB, contributing to Sundays with John Downs, and then began hosting his own show, The City, beginning in August 2011, every Sunday on CFRB between 1 and 3 p.m. Matlow discussed City Hall's top headlines with Toronto's city councillors and the week's newsmakers. From February 2012 until November 2013, CFRB aired The City, featuring Toronto Mayor Rob Ford and his brother and city councillor Doug Ford. The Ford brothers' version of the show was often controversial and was allegedly used by the Fords as a platform to attack their political enemies, prompting various complaints. The show was cancelled in November 2013 after Mayor Ford admitted using crack cocaine after several months of denials. The Fords were replaced in their time slot by Mark Towhey, who had previously been Mayor Ford's chief of staff until he was fired by Ford on May 23, 2013, at the height of Ford's crack video scandal. In 2016, Tim Hudak, a former leader of the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party, was given a show on Sundays, which he hosted until 2021. In February 2021, Bell Media eliminated 210 positions at its media properties across Canada. Included in the layoffs were Newstalk 1010 news director Kim Geddes and several broadcasters, including afternoon host Jim Richards, weekend host Ted Wallachin, nightside host Barb DiGiulio, news reporters and anchors Haley Cooper, David McKee, Lucas Mayer, and Claude Feig.